And I think from an early age, I realized I was quite good at something. But I looked quite different. I was an Asian girl playing football with the boys. It surprised a lot of people.
A few of my friends were like, "Oh, you've got to speak to Farah," and I was like, "Okay, let me go up and say hi."
Can you imagine a fan walk under the Wembley archway? Like
Literally.
it would, like, I think about it, and sometimes I think about it before I go to bed. It's that sad.
Okay, welcome back to the Arsenal Humans Fanzone with me, Luce. This is the third episode, so I hope you've loved the previous guests, and I'm super excited to have Farah on today, who I'm pretty sure, if not all of you, most of you will know, or at least recognise her face. She's on the screen right now, because she is the chair of the Women's Supporters Club, which I feel like has taken everyone by storm. Like, it's getting headlines now that you're literally, I mean, recently you were on the Arsenal socials because you wrote that letter, which I found so powerful, and I know everyone was reposting on their stories. So I feel like, you've done very well for yourself, but also so well for the supporters club as a whole. And I basically today I'm just really excited because I feel like there's so much depth to you and your connection with Arsenal, and I just can't wait to dive into that more. So as I do with all the guests, I'm going to start with the opening question: why Arsenal? So why Farah? Why do you support Arsenal? What are your influences? Yeah, tell me all.
Why Arsenal? I used to play a little bit as a kid. So I grew up. I think probably about 4 or 5, just obsessed with football, and I was very lucky. I grew up in a community that was very football focused. I grew up in West London. I grew up on a council estate, and it was playing football in the cages, playing football in the street, playing with the boys. And I think from an early age, I realized I was quite good at something. But I looked quite different. I was an Asian girl playing football with the boys. It surprised a lot of people. And yeah, I was lucky. Football was a curriculum in my PE sessions, and our local team was QPR. So we were quite lucky. We had some of the QPR young coaches who were doing their B licenses at the time to come and take our sessions, which then sort of led to getting invited to a few like holiday tournaments. So during Easter break, during summer, they were putting on these tournaments that were predominantly for the boys, but they wanted to get girls in, and they needed 2 girls in the team to play in the tournament, at least 1 or 2 girls. So they invited me along, and that's where I kind of took football outside of school, started playing and started playing in front of obviously different people, and different coaches at QPR, and I ended up staying at QPR for a little while. And yeah, it just kind of, there were development leagues at the time. I'll probably show my age there, but yeah, development leagues at the time. So they didn't have anything for the girls during that time. And yeah, I was very used to playing with boys anyway. But it led to a couple of summer tournaments, and yeah, there was one where there happened to be a few Arsenal scouts, and I got invited down to the JVC Centre to have a little trial. I didn't know anything about women's football, to be honest. I was predominantly just men's football. Big fan of Dennis Bergkamp, favourite player. But when I was there, you kind of learn about the history a little bit, and yeah, I found out they had a women's team, which is crazy to think. I had no idea who Kelly Smith was. I had no idea who Alex Scott was. And then when I was a little bit older, so did the trial, for loads of reasons, I stopped playing football. That's probably a whole nother conversation, to be fair. But when I was a little bit older, probably 17, 18, I was going into uni, and my uni was in North London. I went to Middlesex Uni, and yeah, I remember just one Sunday. I wasn't far from Boreham Wood, but I was so intrigued by the women's game. But back in the day, you couldn't really find any information out. You could watch them every year for the FA Cup final, but other than that, there wasn't really any way to know anything about them unless you either went. So I wasn't far. So I thought one day I'd just go down. And again, you could just buy tickets on the turnstiles at that time.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I went by myself, I remember, and there was probably less than 100 fans there, to be honest. North Bank didn't exist, which is crazy to say. But yeah, I watched them live, and I kind of couldn't get out of my head. I was so surprised that, oh my God, there's this women's team, but they're not just women playing, they're so class. I was very lucky to watch, Alex Scott, Rachel Yankee, Anita Asante, a young Dan Carter, a young Jordan Nobbs, and it was, yeah, I think for me at the time as well, it was really important to see that representation on the pitch as well, to see multiple black women play in this Arsenal team. A massive reason why I stopped was racism has had a part to play. It was tough, but I was so drawn to Yanks. I was so drawn to Rachel Yankee. I couldn't take my eyes off her, to be honest. And it was like the first time I discovered these women. So yeah, it kind of started from there really. And I'd been a fan ever since, from afar. I didn't go to many games at the time when I was a kid. Maybe the odd one that I could pop down to, I would, but yeah, I guess. But I was just a fan, and any way that I could keep an eye on them, I would. And I think maybe like 2012 was probably the first time, you started having journalists write about them. There was more info online. You could know a little bit more. And then yeah, from 2012, it was a bit of a bigger thing, and it was more consistent. And then time went on, and the Euros happened, and it was time to, we were going into a new era. And yeah, timing just happened, and the supporters club was going through a bit of a change, and we had done some things previously. That year of the Euros, unofficially, chants, building an unofficial group, making those chants for every player in the team, and which led to, different conversations with the club, and then it led to a change in the supporters club, and yeah, I decided to, yeah, if we're gonna take this big, I need the club on side. So yeah, I was quite hesitant in the beginning to apply for a role on the committee, let alone a chair or a vice chair role. But yeah, if I wanted to, make the vision come to life, I knew, you know, I have to be in those conversations. So yeah, it kind of happened from there really,
Yeah.
and I haven't looked back since.
I know. I feel like you've covered every single angle of that question. Like I wasn't expecting all those angles. And obviously you said it's a conversation for another day, but if you're happy to have it, I've obviously we've had chats away from here about you growing up as a South Asian woman, Muslim woman in London, and also I've noticed like on Copper 90 they recently did that documentary which is so good to show are we going to see the first senior lioness, South Asian lioness in the game, which hopefully will happen soon. And towards the end of the documentary, I feel very hopeful that we will. But I just want to talk more about, obviously, you said some challenges, only if you're obviously comfy to mention it, because I know in Copper 90 you mentioned it briefly with family.
Yeah.
How you mentioned there's a lot of love for like love for football as a whole in your area, and you always felt that constant love. Was that from more friends then, rather than your family? Because where does the Arsenal love come from then, if it's not necessarily from your family? Like you had to go out and find it yourself, or
Yeah, I think when you're a kid, family's not a huge like they were just like it's a hobby, right? So let her go play as a kid, and um, it was more kind of from my friends. You watch a game over the weekend, you watch Super Sunday, you come back to school, everyone's talking about it. You've got your own little rivalries between Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, and you kind of just get yeah, I guess the knowledge and keeping up with the game just sort of happened on the playground. But I think when I got opportunities to play football outside of school and you start playing with other people, the dynamic shifts a little bit. So then you start to obviously come across people who have opinions that could followed by like ignorant comments. I think people see a brown girl playing football, they assume, oh, it's the Indian girl playing football. I'm not Indian. Like you just it starts with stuff like that. And but to be honest, as a kid, I expected it. It's not like it ever made me sad or it made me angry. Like I knew it was a unique thing, and I pretty much expected it. It wasn't until I got older, and then family start to get involved in trial conversations, what happens after trial, under 15s, under 14 contracts, stuff like that. Your family then has to get involved. And I think at that time my family were quite shocked, why are we even having these conversations? Like you were just playing for fun, and now we're talking about schooling schedules and potentially leaving home and stuff like that. And I think that scared them a little bit because like why are we doing this? Because you don't want to become a footballer, so I don't understand why you have to
It was
train
seen as
four
just a
times a week.
hobby. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a bit of a shock to them. So that was a part of a cultural block. I do think we've come so much, further down the line from that. And I think people use the whole South Asian family thing as a bit of a block on why South Asians haven't made it, because it's not the only case. But yeah, look, if I'm going to be completely honest, we had racism in the game 15 years ago. We still have racism in the game now. It's still blocking people. We've had it in the Euros. We've had it only now players are coming out with it, clubs are coming out with it, and it's in mainstream media, but it's been happening, for so long. It's been happening since I was 8 when I got my first racial slur on a football pitch, and I'll never ever forget it. I'll never forget how old I was. I'll never forget where it was, and I'll never forget who said it to me. So it's been around, but I have to say the last 12 months, I would say me being chair, me being kind of doing maybe a few things with Arsenal that has gone online, whether it's you know different ad campaigns or whatever I'm doing, is probably the heaviest amount of racism I felt in the last year, like vocal racism. My
Right.
DMs have been a bit crazy. We've had
So
things
even
not
when you're
just,
speaking out, sorry, so even
yeah,
when you're speaking out, obviously for that solidarity and so many people, because when I see you do posts on, say, Brown Girl Sport on Instagram, who are a great page to follow, representing South Asian women, when I see comments on there, it's all loving and supporting you. So that
yeah.
shocks me that obviously I guess it's maybe my comments and my algorithm's more filtered to show the love, whereas I obviously won't see your DMs.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, the support is incredible. The community is amazing. And when you do put out statements, and you have to put out statements, you have to put out those statements because something has happened previously and something's happened to make you make a statement. So yeah, I think there's just a lot more sort of vocal racism at the moment, not just on the pitch, off the pitch, in the industry. People that you're coming across, people who are showing sort of the education side of what should be said, and what's a joke, what's a mockery, what isn't. That's an educational piece. That's a lot of ignorance coming through. But yeah, so, I've definitely felt it a lot this year. Probably the heaviest actually that I've ever felt it. And yeah, it's been probably the toughest year in terms of like as chair. Obviously, we're doing some amazing things, but I think personally for me, it's still a very lonely space because I look around and I don't see many people doing what I'm doing. So it is, you carry the weight a lot. You have to make sure that you're not letting conversations die down, making sure you're not getting too emotional in it. So, I certainly don't let DMs and stuff affect me. But don't get me wrong, there's been times where, I did a campaign with Arsenal and another with Copper 90 and a Google Pixel, and it was amazing that they came to me. I don't work in this space. I'm not content. I'm not a journalist. I'm not just a fan, right? So when they came to me with this idea of like the evolution of Arsenal Women's Fan Base, and we're celebrating 10 years of the SC, and they wanted to put it together in this sort of film. When it went out, they asked me to do a collaborative post with Arsenal Copper and myself. And I've done stuff with Arsenal before collaboratively, and it was like the it was horrible. The DMs were insane, and I had to say no. I said, just tag the SC. If people know me, people know me. If people don't, people don't. Like that's absolutely fine. But please don't tag.
Mhm.
Please don't make it a collaborative post. I don't need people seeing my personal Instagram, because I know what was going to happen. Obviously, people found it anyway, but a majority of it was very positive. But yeah, you do get, misogyny is just a given for all of us anyway in this game. But I think the
Mhm.
racism side of things, yeah, it's hard. It's really, really hard. And the game, to go to the game, the week after or that weekend, I never, I'll never talk about it. I've got a job to do when I get to pre-match meetups. I've got a job to do if I'm leading a fan walk. It's not about me. It's about, showing other people that, yeah, there is a brown girl here, and she is leading a fan walk, and she is in
Mhm.
this space, in this environment, and it's okay. So I can't really let the DMs of bot profiles or whoever's hiding behind a screen,
Yeah.
get the better of me. Otherwise, it'd be really tough to go to games. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie. There's been a few games where I just couldn't be asked. I thought, oh, I just can't be asked to get
Mhm.
up and go. Like I'm not in the mood. But I'm chair. It's my job. Fan engagement is my thing, and I wouldn't be doing it if we weren't. If I didn't want to build something amazing and give the fans and give our members the best match day experience. So they
Mhm.
come back, and ultimately that's my
No,
job.
honestly,
So
yeah. No, just thank you for being so like raw and authentic with it because I think you're one of the people that I look to for speaking out on certain situations. And as a fan of Arsenal, and trying to educate myself more on the idea of intersectionality, obviously facing both racism, sexism, you've got different things coming at you from different angles. Like, I really appreciate when you put these posts out and the influence you're having, because from my angle, I see it as very the positive influence, and I see all the respect you gain, and everyone adores you for everything you do. But I'm just wondering, do you feel like it's too much pressure on your shoulders? Obviously, as chair, we'll get onto your journey, how you became chair, but as chair, do you feel like you want to almost have more people around you speaking out as well? Is there something of us who are also in the sports club can do, or do you like speaking out because deep down you know that's your core and morally you want to do that?
I think if I'm being totally honest, I just think I have to, while I have a little bit of this platform that I have,
Mm-hmm.
I have to educate. And that's not to say that people aren't educated in the space, but when certain things happen, people may not have the same outlook as me or how it might affect me, because a lot of people that I am around are white, and also from different parts of the country as well. We're a very varied fan base. So you may not come from, you might not be from London, so you might not be from a diverse sort of area. So there are a lot of things in the sport that is educating a lot of people. So I think, look, the support has always been great, and it's something that I talk about within the group, within the chats. But I can't force people to have that same passion for me, because it's not affecting them in the way that it might affect me. So yeah, I just think while I have this platform, and while I'm not going to be chair forever, I'm just gonna do what I can. And yeah, I guess to an extent, I do feel the weight on my shoulders just a little bit, just from the space that I'm in, just to do as much as I can, because we do have a diverse fan base, but you may not see all of them. But I know for a fact there are people who look like me, from different ethnic backgrounds, around the 2-3 thousand people we have within the SC, and then the wider fan base outside of that. It is a very diverse fan base. So just because you don't see them, it doesn't mean things aren't affected, and they're not affected. So I know that. I know there are people that are relying on me, to speak, and relying on me to fight for them. And I'm more than happy to do that. I also have a fantastic community within the South Asian space. You mentioned Brown Girl Sport, Miriam Walker Khan, massive, like mentor for me, and someone that I lean on a lot, and I've learned a lot. But that community in itself, is fantastic, and I've met so many incredible people in this space, and the Euros was another example of that. You know, doing the fan walk with with a friend of mine, Hina, who does a lot of work in the space as well. But we were two brown girls, final of the Euros, leading the fan walk, holding the flag, and the FSA and the FA, they made a conscious decision to make that happen because it was really important that we were holding a flat flag that said proper England. And they wanted the two of us to kind of be in the middle of all of that as well. Because the way I see England, unfortunately, not everyone sees England that way. So yeah, I do feel the weight sometimes. I see it as a responsibility. I also see it as a protector. And I think I'm old enough and I've got the life experience behind me to be able to handle it. Like I've got a very thick skin. I certainly wouldn't be sitting here and I wouldn't be carrying on with this job if I didn't have a thick skin. So it's very rare that people would get under my skin. But yeah, so yeah, I definitely, yeah, more of a protection vibe more than anything, while I have this little bit of a platform that I have.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can see it. Like, obviously, your thick skin, everything you speak about, and it's so good that obviously you've got a very good support network in your private life that enables you to be able to do this in almost a public life. Because, as you say, you've basically become the face of the supporters club, whether you've realised it or not, or want it or not. You've sort of become who we go to. I know that when I first wanted to join the supporters club, a few of my friends were like, "Oh, you've got to speak to Farah," and I was like, "Okay, let me go up and say hi." Like, and that's how you get those connections, and that's how you obviously meet people. And then I've got some of my friends who are new to the club, like new to the fan base, to speak to you, and then added you like to the big WhatsApp group chat. And I think it's so important that you've kept that community going. Going back to like why the Women's Supporters Club and why you wanted to become chair. Because obviously I know you had the red and white from before, what you were saying with all the chants. How did you sort of
Yeah.
merge from that to then become the chair?
We had an opportunity to, we had an unofficial group, we had an official group. So when the committee stepped down before we took over, it was an opportunity for a fresh start, but also to build on the foundations that everyone else had left for us. Because you have to remember, past committees have been doing this when the crowds were like 100 people, less than that. So we've got our own history, we've got our own heritage, and I wanted to take the foundations they left, but I wanted to change the game a little bit. If we were gonna, we had a vision of what we wanted, and that was to sell out. We sold out Bournemouth very quickly, when we were doing the red and white. But we had an opportunity to merge these two groups together in a very organic way. You don't want to force it on people, but we had an opportunity to merge it together and everything to go through the supporters club. And with that came, I have an opportunity now to build new relationships with the football club. Because if I want certain things done in marketing or ticketing, and get fans involved as much as we can and show off this community, I need the club. And the club gave me the opportunity to grow the community. They gave me that opportunity. They gave the entire team that. My team are fantastic. Like I said, there's 10 of us, and I certainly, I certainly would not be doing what I'm doing without them. The work that gets done in the background, I cannot tell you the hours that get put in is not normal. The team of, us as a team is what's made us as successful as we have been. But the relationship with the club, like, they gave us the opportunity to grow. They made our visions come to life. And I'm forever grateful for that. But it was, we had a very unique opportunity to blend chance and atmosphere with official stuff that we needed to change as well. So yeah, like I said, I was very hesitant to join the SC because it was done in a different way before I came on board. I also was worried that we come in, we change it, people might not like it, but no, I think the timing is everything. We were going into a new era anyway of women's football, and we built on the hype of 22, and everyone. I spend a lot of my time talking to so many people. Like I give my time to so many people. The common theme was, I want to see Arsenal play, but I'm coming on my own. I don't know anyone in the space. So the community side of it, I thought we have to hone in on that, and make sure everyone feels comfortable and make sure everyone feels like this is their space, and they can be completely themselves no matter who they are or where they're from.
Hmm.
So pre-match meetups, like that was, that was more just for people to feel like, okay, I can come here first and then walk to the stadium with a bunch of fans, and that just got bigger and bigger and bigger. But yeah, it's the stories. Fans in women's football have some incredible stories, and we listen as a team. The inclusion piece, the safe space, that means more to me than anything else. So when people are coming in and they're not making it like that, I take it very personally, because we're putting in so much work, to make this the most inclusive space, in football. And there could be, this space probably is the only space that certain people have felt like they can just be themselves, and they maybe never felt like they belonged somewhere before, but now they found a space that they can. And we've just run on that ethos. But yeah, I definitely wanted to come in and yeah, make a positive change, not just sell tickets, but if you build a community, and it's kind of, if you build what we have, it becomes a sustainable fan base.
Just going back to what you said before, I know for a fact that you have made a positive impact because there's fans like me that exist and, like you're saying, feel safe and included because
Yeah.
of that conversation, that first conversation, exactly what you said. I remember coming up
Yeah.
to you and I was like, oh, but if I look at all my friends, they support Chelsea, United, City, they don't support Arsenal. So I was going last season and the season before, I was going to a lot of Arsenal games with the opponent, if that makes sense, like with a fan of the opposition. And then
Yeah.
because of having that conversation, because I've got into the supporters club, I've now got a season ticket this season, surrounded by Arsenal fans, which for me, like it gives me goosebumps because I'm like, oh my gosh, like 10-year-old me wouldn't thought that was wouldn't think that was even a possibility to be surrounded
Yeah.
by people my age, older, younger, that all are there for the love of Arsenal. And that is down to you and obviously your team of 10 people and how you've created that atmosphere. And now I'm so excited to go to the games because you can chant and you're not constantly having to be like taking the mick out of someone. You're there as a family and as a unit. So honestly, I think what you've done with that is just incredible. I think you've done so many different things, and in my head I can already picture a few of your possible answers to this question. But is there a proudest moment, or is there a few proud moments that you could pick out? Obviously, you mentioned selling out stadiums, the Champions League final, like anything like that that you can think of.
Yeah, I think there's probably two, like, big ones. And if I go back to 22, and that year everyone talks about, obviously, the Conti Cup. We bought silverware back to Emirates after like 5 years of not winning anything. So everyone talks about that Conti Cup, but for me, I'll never ever forget Boreham Wood, semi final, quarter final, of the Conti Cup, and we played Man City, and it was a Wednesday night, and it was 0-0. It went to extra time, and for a Wednesday night, at the timing of that, like, we hadn't really kicked off yet. We were just starting to be this loud atmosphere. The way the way I'd never seen Boreham Wood sold out before, but the way we carried, that team, I looked around and I thought, oh my God, we're doing something so special here, because it was the first time we were like the 12th person in a game, and Stina scored in like the first 5 minutes of extra time, and we got to a semi-final of the Conti Cup, and honestly, the way the fans celebrated that, big, and the fact that it went to extra time, it was a Wednesday night. People weren't used to doing stuff like that on a weeknight, and I felt like after that day, I just thought, I've got something here really, really special. And I realised it that day, because I remember at full time we just jumped over the bars in the North Bank. Someone picked me up. Like, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And, it was only the Conti Cup, but it meant so much to us. But it was in that moment I realised we had something really, really special. And I'm gonna jump on this. And, that's when we made, socials, and I got really into it, and I thought, yeah, this is going to be huge now for us. And yeah, that was always a special moment. And I think everyone forgets about City a little bit, because we had so many incredible moments that season. But yeah, Man City always sticks out to me, because that's when I realized, okay, if I get the opportunity, I'm gonna I will join the committee, and there are things that I want to do, and I had all these stuff going on in my head, and yeah, that's when I realized. And then I have to say Lisbon. So proud of not just obviously what we did as Arsenal women, but so proud of my team. From Lyon to Lisbon, the turnaround, like I got an email from the club on the flight back from Lyon, and about tickets and the system and talking about UEFA and rules, and I was stressing out, and we didn't have long to turn it around. We didn't have long to sort everything out. We already knew we were going to be outnumbered by Barca fans. But I actually had to, like, hopefully no one from work will see this, but I actually had to take some time off, like, like to
Yeah.
focus
Priorities.
on this, and meetings with the club every single day, fan experience team, what I need, and I said, look, I need flags, I need big flags. We're gonna do this walk. I had, pre-match meetup. It was all crazy. But what happened out there was just a dream. I didn't expect Pink Street to fill out the way that it did. We had about 3,000 Gooners pre-match, more post-match, and we just took over Lisbon. And the walk from Pink Street, getting on the tram, getting to the stadium, I didn't think it was going to work the way that we did, that the way that we made it happen. And that is down to the club, that is down to the SC team, that's down to the fans. It was such a struggle to get everyone out to Lisbon. It was so tricky, it was so expensive. And I know so many people missed out. But yeah, I'm just so proud of what we did as an SC to create what we created out there. And we just worked so hard. And the tickets, obviously, we've got a system with Arsenal for tickets. This is now UEFA, different kettle of fish. It was tough. It took us a long time to organize everyone. And it was stressful. I have never felt stressed like it. I don't really get stressed. Like, I get a bit stressed when people stress me out, but I'm kind of used to it now. But Champions League prep, I was stressed out. I was really stressed. I was almost panicking. Because we were talking like flights, and people couldn't get out there. It's just so
Oh
many
my
conversations
gosh.
going back and forth and trying to get help. And I kind of knew we wouldn't get the help that we needed. We weren't quite there yet, to get that level of help. But and I was a week, 2 weeks behind everyone booking my flights because I had to sort out tickets and I had to sort out
Everyone
everything else.
else.
I was so late booking my flight, and I was starting to panic, and I was like, I might not get out there myself. But yeah, it all worked out in the end. But yeah, I'm really, really proud of that. Yeah, proud of the team,
I was gonna
my
say, I
team.
just love how you talk about both scenarios, and it's like the same for every other scenario you talk about, every other game of how dream it is. Like, I love that word because I feel like it perfectly summarizes how you feel. Like, I'm getting goosebumps just listening to you talk because it feels like a film of how, when, especially for me, like what you were saying earlier on, you'd go to the first games at Meadow Park and it would be pretty much empty. I remember going, it would be like me and my dad, one person sat behind me,
Yeah,
maybe like a parent of a player over there, and everyone was very spread out. I'd get my photo at the end with like Jordan Orbs, Alex Scott, Rachel Yankee, and then I'd go home and be like, oh, dad, look at this. Whereas now it's like there's that expectation where kids are like, oh, I need to get that photo of this player and everything because it's become so big and on such a big scale. And obviously, when you're talking about that, like, I can't understand the stress. Like, I don't think I'll ever be able to understand the stress that you have to go through before every match day. But thank you for everything you do. I think I'm saying that on behalf of all Arsenal fans because without you and without your team, it wouldn't be possible. And I think a big thing for you is being that 12th player that you said, being that 12th person in the stand, and how that community is sort of brought, that passion is brought through. Going back like completely away from the sports club, just you as an Arsenal fan, are there any key moments that stand out to you as just purely a fan? Any players in particular you can think of? Just, yeah, because I think it would be interesting to hear about your perspective, not just being the chair.
yeah. I mean, I'll never forget my first ever women's game. And my favorite player of all time is Rachel Yankee. She was the first player that caught my eye. Everyone has that one player that got them into the game, whether it's now or whether it was years ago. And mine was Yanks. And I feel very privileged that I got to play, got to see her play. And yeah, she'll always be obviously, yeah, my favorite player. But also I have a massive, obviously, respect, and I have so much. I'm so thankful that Lotta Wubben-Moy plays for the Arsenal because she is my favorite Arsenal player currently, and she has been for a long, long time, and she's on all my home shirts. And but Lotta, I think, like obviously on the pitch, I love to watch her play, but I think I also love what she does off the pitch. That made me want to be a part of Arsenal in a different way because of what she stands for. Not only is she a fan favorite, and I think everyone loves Lotta, but I think the way she is with the fans, she makes the fans feel very seen. She's very honest, she's very open. She stands up for what she believes in. She has very strong morals, and she speaks out when not every player does. And I think, yeah, and I'm so thankful that she's a gunner. I'm so happy that she plays for my team. And yeah, I've been very lucky enough to meet her and speak to her a few times. And yeah, she's probably the only player that is has a great connection with the SC itself. She's very connected. She's very vocal. She speaks all the time.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I just feel yeah, yeah, she's my favorite player, and yeah, I just have a very kind of she's a massive reason why I decided to obviously do what I do as well. So yeah, I'd probably say
No,
yeah,
it's
Lotta
interesting
now.
because I do feel like from what you're saying, there's a lot of qualities that overlap between you and Lotta because I think you're both outspoken in such an articulate way that it gets everyone listening. I mean, watching her at the Euros, obviously she didn't actually play on the pitch, but what she did through the poems and the words, I love how she uses her creativity, even her contract extension. It was almost similar to obviously when you did that letter, like it's using your words to get across your passion. And I think she is literally everything that Arsenal represents. So I completely echo everything you're saying that I think she definitely is a fan favourite both on and off the pitch this season. Focusing on this season that we're about to get into, what are your sort of hopes, like both as the supporters club, you as a fan, what you want to see, any silverware, anything in particular, just what are you hoping for Arsenal as a whole?
I want the quadruple. Like that's what I want, and I say that
Okay,
every
yeah,
single
full
season.
stop.
I want every single trophy. Listen, there's not going to be a season
Mhm.
where I start a season I say Arsenal aren't going to win the WSL because every season I believe it, and every season I think
Mhm.
yeah it's going to happen. Look, I think what they did, how they ended last season, what they did in the Champions League, I think has not only pushed the club and pushed those players in terms of what they can achieve and what they're capable of, but they've given the fans so much belief. I think this team is with Renee now having her first full season, I think they have such a togetherness, a very unique togetherness that I don't feel like I see in many other teams in the WSL. So I think they have to really kind of just pick up where they left off, really. And I think the additions that have come in, I'm very excited about. They've made some great signings. Hopefully they're not done yet. And there's hopefully we see a few more, but yeah, I think they mean business, but I think they've shown themselves what they're capable of. It doesn't matter like what they've proved in the Champions League is it doesn't matter where you are in the league, and it doesn't matter what your form is, in Europe, every tournament is different, and yeah, they've left the fans with a smile on their faces, and they've experienced their team winning a Champions League final, which, a lot of people were saying, I hope it happens in my lifetime because it's such a hard tournament to win. And we've just watched our team, and that's such a privilege. Incredible trophy lift back in London, and yeah, I think that's just going to just give everyone the motivation. But what I would really like personally,
Oh,
is I would
example.
love to take this fan base to Wembley, and I would love to be in the FA Cup final, and I want to take over Wembley. Like we've taken over every stadium we've practically been in the last 4 years. So what is time? It's time to win the FA Cup back home. I love the FA Cup. It has so much history. A lot of people, watched Arsenal for the first time ever during the FA Cup. But can you imagine a fan walk under the Wembley archway? Like
Literally.
it would, like, I think about it, and sometimes I think about it before I go to bed. It's that sad. But I think about it. I thought about it a lot last year as well. But personally, I would love that. And fun fact, I actually haven't
Wow.
been back to Wembley to watch a football match since 22 final.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Okay,
haven't
so
been back.
we've actually all got to manifest this moment for
Yeah,
you especially. But just when you're saying that, that literally, I know what I'm dreaming about tonight. Before I go to bed, I'm going to think about that and be manifesting it
yeah.
because I mean, I went to the final last year, um, and obviously Chelsea lifted it again. And I saw the crowd, but I was like, there's a lot of neutral fans. Whereas, like you said, I can imagine a whole Red Sea, like it literally the whole of the stadium would just be us.
It would be an
And
incredible atmosphere.
I really want that to happen,
Yeah, I want it.
honestly.
I've
And I
been
think
thinking about it
even
a lot.
yeah, no, I think even what you're saying, obviously, with the quadruple, nothing seems impossible. And I think it is because when we all stood at trophy lift, that's the first time I've ever been at a trophy lift like that. And I just thought, wow, okay, so people are waking up, people are actually tuning in. I looked around and just thought, this is crazy to be a part of. We're part of history. And
Yeah,
because we've done it once, it's always the second time is like, okay, you've got to do it soon. But I do feel like definitely what you're saying that it could happen. And I feel like the more people I'm talking to, I don't know whether we're all delusional, but I'm just getting even more excited because I think we've got that squad depth, we've got those players that are coming in, we've obviously got new players hopefully coming in. So I'm actually, yeah, I'm
yeah.
really excited. And yeah, I just feel like this conversation has just fueled me with more energy going into the season. I do just want to end with a little like sort of a little game, little quiz thing that I'm going to try and come up with a different one, see how creative I can get each week. Um,
Yeah.
and I just want you to create your dream five-a-side team. This can be from any season, so you can have the likes of Rachel Yankee in there or Burkamp in there that you mentioned earlier. Men's, women's, just Arsenal as a whole. Create your dream five-a-side. I'm just interested to see who you'd go for.
Dream five aside. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Men and women, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously don't have to. If you want it to be female dominated because we've won the Champions League, then I'm very
Yeah, I
down
might
for
just keep
that.
it. I might just keep it as women. Do I go for a
Hmm.
keeper? Yeah, I have to go for a keeper. So I'd have Emma Byrne in goal. Um,
Nice.
I would have, I'm gonna have Rafa as my centre back
Yes.
at my, you know, brick wall.
I
Love
miss her
Rafa.
in the squad, to be honest.
Yeah, I love Rafa. I think is just, yeah, just incredible. I'd love to see her back.
Mhm.
I would have Rachel Yankee
Goes without saying. As captain, I'm assuming probably in this five-side.
as captain. You can't not have Kelly Smith. Like you have to put Kelly Smith in there.
Hmm.
Um, and to kind of, you know, put a little curveball in there, I would have. You know what? Let's go for Chloe Kelly.
Okay.
Yeah, let's
That's,
go for
you know
Chloe
what?
Kelly.
Imagine you rock up like what you were saying when you were younger and you used to go to the cages. Imagine rocking up and suddenly you've got these five players against you. I think I'd just go home. I'd be like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's not for me. Because
yeah, yeah.
that is an
That is it's a
incredible.
very weird five-a-side, but yeah, I can imagine Yanks and Kelly and well, Chloe Kelly and
Mhm.
then Kelly Smith down the middle. Yeah, I think yeah, let's go for that.
Yeah, that's you know what I didn't know what you'd say, but I'm very impressed with those players, like as in the variety of it, going back as well and present. So yeah, well that basically is the end of this little chat. I feel like we could literally talk forever. Like there's so many conversations that I feel like we've started and I'd love to dive into further. So maybe in the future if I get you back on, but I do really appreciate you coming on. Is there any way that anyone listening, because I've got more obviously Arsenal fans that listen to this that would love to get involved with the supporters club, is there any way they can get involved just so we keep expanding this growing and inclusive community?
Absolutely. If you go onto our socials, I have it pinned on our grid. Memberships is now open, but they do close October the 6th. So try and get in there in the next month or so. You have an option of a free membership, but also £15 for the year, which is the home membership, which gives you access to all the allocations. We've obviously had to be a bit more strict on that and just have paid members only in the supporters club allocations because we're so big and it has to be a benefit. We do celebrate 10 years of the supporters club this year, so everyone will receive a membership pack, and this year you'll see some very cool 10-year anniversary presents in there which you can be rocking at games. So yeah, you've got until October, but feel free to drop us a DM anytime. you're only going to be speaking to me anyway. So yeah, drop us a DM if you need more info. But yeah, sign up. Let's see how much. I mean, we've already had a bit of a record so far. We've only been open for 4 days, and we're already in some big figures. So yeah, that's it's great, but also quite scary.
I know, it's so exciting though, and obviously the little gifts or whatever it's going to be, the little merch maybe,
Yeah,
is obviously got to be an incentive for many people. But yeah, I hope more people join that. I feel like I definitely need to actually fill out my membership form now, and this is
yeah,
giving me the
renew.
reminder. But yeah, I know, but I appreciate you coming on and yeah, just being so authentic about your journey, but also for being such a role model for so many people. You're paving the way, and I'm very proud of everything you're doing. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thank you so much. And likewise, you're absolutely smashing it. I'm very proud of you, and I'm so glad Arsenal. I'm so glad you came and spoke to me that day because you've become such a good friend.
Hmm.
So yeah,
No, literally, I
well
was about to
done,
say
well
I'm proud of
done.
not. Stop it, stop it. I was gonna say I'm proud of not only obviously you as a chair, but you as a person. Like you're just speaking out, and I think that's how we could all be more often. So yeah, I really appreciate you coming on.
No worries.
Just for anyone who's watching on YouTube, if you're able to carry on following this journey, then please subscribe. And obviously, if you're listening on Spotify, please follow. Also, I'm going to drop in the description below all the supporters club information so that you can get involved in case you don't want to go over to Instagram straight away. But obviously, there are options like that. So yeah. I'll be back on Tuesday, just me, and then the following Friday will be with another guest. So I'll see you then.